What is that?
I mean, do you think that we should upgrade to Windows 11 now, or?
Hey, check this out. How much did you pay for this?
This is amazing.
Well, it was free. Let me introduce you to Windows Vista.
Okay, we are back, and now this is part 2 or 3 of the Dell Dimension 4700. Part 1 was just seeing if it worked. Part 2 was removing the password to XP, and now XP is working. And so part 3 is I want to put Windows Vista on it. I want to see if it'll actually work. It came with the Vista disk. And this was kind of around the time when you could get a computer with XP or Vista. I'm not sure if this disk is for this computer, but it did come with it. The thing is, this computer is from 2004 or 2005, but Vista didn't come out until 2007. So I wonder if did they buy it after 2007 and it came with XP? Not sure, but I'm just gonna pretend that it came with it. We'll see if it works. So here are the specs right now. It has a Pentium 4 CPU, 1 gig of memory, 2.8 gigahertz. This is a 32-bit CPU. And the disk that it came with is a 32-bit version of Vista. So I want to see if it'll upgrade. And I pretty much uninstalled all the software that was on here, with the exception of Office 2003 and QuickBooks 2011. So whoever had this computer, it was from a doctor's office. They probably had it for a long time to be running QuickBooks 2011. And I know I wanted to make a video about XP, but I really wanted to make a video about Vista. I still do have the original hard drive that this came with, which probably has XP on it, and we'll do that later. But XP is so old, I can't even remember when I had XP. I had XP in 2001, 2002, but it's kind of hard to work with. You know, it's so old that it's actually harder to get set up correctly. So what I want to do is see if Vista will work and play with it, and then maybe Windows 7 later. So let's see. And 1 GB, if you're wondering, you might think that's not very much, but actually, back in the day, 1 GB was a lot. So, should be fine. Now, I initially tried to put Vista on here, but actually the computer did not come with a DVD drive. So, that leads me to believe that maybe that disc is not for this computer. Because why would they give you a DVD if you didn't have a DVD drive in your computer? But luckily I had a DVD drive, and luckily the computer itself has a SATA port, an extra one. And even though I couldn't put it in the actual slot, I kind of jerry-rigged it, and I unplugged the CD drives, and I have the DVD drive working, and XP did pick it up, so that's good. So from what I remember, Vista takes a really long time to install. So let's see if... Will it let me upgrade? Do not... But yeah, I'm really into Vista because there's upgrade. Vista is the operating system that I remember the most. I did have XP, you know, forever, but I don't really remember it because it was such a long time ago. But I remember installing Vista when it first came out. I probably had a beta of it because I know for sure that I did not buy Vista. So I probably installed a beta back in 2006 or 7. And then I somehow or another, because I had Vista for a long time, somehow or another, I think I hacked a key or something. There was a way back then to get keys. The thing is, back then with Vista and XP, if you had a key, it would just work. It didn't check online, you know, to see if somebody else was using it. If you had the key, you could just use it. So I remember I had Vista. It was on a Celeron CPU. I had, I think, 768 megabytes of memory, I believe. Probably an 40 or an 80 gigabyte hard drive. And I remember because I built that computer, probably, I had the cheapest video card that was out, and it was probably an AGP. I think it was an SIS. Those were the cheapest ones back then. They were about 40 bucks. Let's see. Potential issues were detected. USB device, Windows Messenger, that's fine. Okay, so it's upgrading. And I had Vista on there, and I remember Vista, it was so exciting at the time. There was commercials for it everywhere. It was in the magazines. It was in the paper. We used to read newspapers back then. It was like a big thing because XP had been out for so long, and it was so boring that when Vista came out and it was so pretty and visual, and it said, you know, there's all these new features and stuff like that, everybody was excited about it. The thing is, we didn't know back then, which I'm sure you've heard of, is that you could install Vista basically on any computer, but it ran terribly. They didn't tell you, you know, what the requirements were. They just wanted you to buy it. And so you'd have Vista, standard Vista, Vista Basic, Vista Premium. I think there's a Premium and Ultimate. and you could only get the Aero Glass features with the higher Vista. But yeah, it was really slow. You had to use Vista Basic. In fact, some computers you had to actually change the graphics to not have transparency. So basically it was Vista, but it looked like XP because there was no... You'll see when it's done installing. Vista usually has like a transparency sort of thing to it. But if your computer was really old, you had to turn that off. If you had only, let's say, 512 megabytes of memory. And so it sort of made it look like XP, and that was kind of the hack to make it work. This particular version is Vista Business. I don't remember what Vista Business was. I think it's Vista without the multimedia stuff. Because if you recall Vista, you could actually watch TV on your computer. You could play movies. There was a movie player. There was a lot of multimedia things that was in the more premium version. I think Vista Business just doesn't have those features. So my goal here at the end is to hopefully install Vista Ultimate, because I don't think I tried it back then, but it was so slow I couldn't run it. And then I retired that computer. I bought a laptop which had Vista on it, and I forget which version it was, and it was fine. I used that for, well, like 2 years, I think. And then after that, I didn't have a computer for a year or two. And I think that's when Windows 7 came out, and I kind of missed that whole party. And then by the time that I came back to computers, 7 was already, mainstream. So I didn't really get the opportunity to go from Vista to 7. But to me, Windows 7 was basically like Vista anyway, so I don't... For those of you that were around back then, you'll remember the difference, but I don't actually remember why. I think maybe because Vista was so slow, right? So then 7 came out, and I guess it ran better, but I don't know why. Also, by the time 7 came out, most CPUs were 64-bit. That's probably a thing. So this is 32-bit, so I don't know if there's going to be a performance issue here. So there is a video card slot in here, PCI Express. So that's good. So I'm going to try and put some sort of video card upgrade in here, which I wouldn't have had back then. I mean, a good one, not a really cheap one. And it's interesting, this Dell has a 6-pin power connector, I think, which is kind of unusual for a Dell. So that opens up the options a little bit. So it's been about 10 minutes now. So I'm going to let this do its thing, and then I'll be back in a minute. Okay, it's rebooting, so let's see what happens here. It took about, I would say 15-20 minutes, not too bad. I thought it took longer than that. So here's the old Vista screen. See how it looks. Turn this a little that way. Still upgrading. Okay. Yeah, I forgot. So it'll boot into Vista and then do more things. So that's why it takes so long. So it's technically it's now in Vista, but it's still doing the upgrade. If it wasn't upgrading, it wouldn't take as long. I recall upgrading, yeah. It's my original one I upgraded. But then after that, I just installed it fresh, so I guess we'll be back again in a little bit. Okay, the upgrade is completed, supposedly. It took about another 15 minutes or so. So all in all, about half an hour, maybe a little more, which is about what I expected. So let's see what happens. And so just again about the 32-bit versus 64-bit thing. I don't know if for those of you that weren't around back then, pretty much everything was 32-bit and then they came out with 64-bit, but a lot of the hardware that you would have already had in your computer did not have 64-bit drivers. And also some of the older applications would not work in the 64-bit environment. So that's why they kept making 32-bit software, even though at that time, you know, everything was moving to 64-bit. In fact, Windows 7 actually also came out in 32-bit at some point, which I have somewhere. So I might put the Windows 7 32-bit on here after I'm done with the Vista. So let's see what it's gonna do here. And we're just gonna basically try some old games after everything's done. So it's doing something. Now this is on a hard drive. I'm not using a SATA drive because, I mean, I'm not using an SSD because I'm trying to recreate the experience of how it would have been back then. And back, you know, in 2007, I hadn't even heard of SSD. I'm sure it was out then, but I was not aware of it. Even actually in 2010, I think I still hadn't heard of SSD. You know, I'm just so used to a hard drive, but that's going to make everything take longer here. So let's see, it's doing something. And we'll just wait. Okay, we are back. It just rebooted, and hopefully we get to get into Windows Vista now. That was brutal. That was about another 20 minutes plus. And I wanted to capture the first boot, so I was just sitting here waiting for that to happen and staring at the screen. Yeah, that was not ideal. But let's see. So I don't have speakers hooked up, so unfortunately you don't get to hear the cool Vista startup sound. But I'll just play it here. Pretend. That's what it would sound like when you first start. So let's see what happens here. So it went to about 50% and then it rebooted. And now it's doing more stuff. Oh man. So yeah, it's gonna be an hour plus. And the thing is, it's taking so long because it is a hard drive and not a SATA SSD. And it's just going, you know, it's gone crazy. But hopefully someday before we become old, this will actually complete. I wish I could see what it's actually doing. I remember the old versions of Windows, you could actually see the files installing. I think that was back in, 3.1 days or something. You could see the actual files unzipping and uncompressing and stuff like that. But here you're just kind of waiting. Yeah, I do remember it's a long process. I didn't think it was this long, but yeah, it's a long process. So it's doing something, and we'll be back again in a minute. Okay, we're now on the 4th reboot. Hopefully this is the last one, because this is taking way too long. So let's see what happens now. It should be done. Please work. All right, so we're finally in the setup. So we're gonna use recommended settings, and we'll do that later. Clock, thank you for taking 2 hours to install. So again, if you had installed this from scratch, you wouldn't have had to go through all of those things. This is an upgrade, so if I recall, that's why it takes longer. But this was normal because back then you wouldn't have normally, I think not in 07, maybe later, 08, 09, you would have bought a new computer, built it yourself, bought Vista and bought retail box and installed that, and sort of started from scratch. But back then everybody had XP, so it was more of people upgrading than installing fresh. Like now, if you bought a new computer, you would install Windows 11, right? But a couple years ago, you would have bought a computer with Windows 10 and then upgraded to Windows 11. So that's just kind of the equivalent. And so now Vista had this thing, which was a feature that people really jumped on, which was it would show you the performance score. I wish they had that now, and I think a lot of people wish they had it too, where Windows would actually tell you how good your computer was. I think it was called the performance index. So you could see the processor speed, the graphics speed. And so Vista is where that started from. And so see, it's saying checking your computer's performance, and you're gonna get a score. And the scores were always bad. It was always like 1.0 or 2.0. To get anything higher than that, you had to really spend a lot of money. So we'll see. This is a very old Dell computer, so I assume it's going to be pretty low. I can't remember if it checks the hard drive. Yeah, and then Vista, I remember they promoted the security a lot with Vista, the Defender. or actually it was called, wasn't it? It was, first it was Security Center, and I think it didn't change to Defender until Windows 7, right? We'll see it when it pops up here. But it was a major thing to go from XP to Vista. It was such a huge difference. Whereas, let's say 10 to 11, not a big deal, but XP to Vista was huge. That was, everything changed. The graphics changed, the system changed, the way that you do everything changed. So hopefully the next version of Windows, whatever that is, hopefully it's not called 12, will have an entirely new thing, because we're tired of just having an update and an update and an update. Okay, we are in Vista Business, so we'll see what that's all about. I really can't remember Vista Business. That probably only came on OEM systems like Dell's and HP's, I'm guessing, because you wouldn't install Vista Business on your personal computer. Although, I remember, sort of, Vista Business was the easiest one to get keys for because not too many people used it. And we're in. There's that glorious background. Not even sure what that is exactly, but let's adjust this a little bit so you can see the corners there. So let's see. Vista Business, 2.8 gigahertz, 1 gigabyte memory. So does it have Aero Glass? Let's see. So Aero Glass was Alt Tab or Windows Tab. Or wait, you have to do this. So there's the clock and the pictures. Import options, don't import. Okay. Don't think I have internet available. And this is kind of a time people had, I think 2007, people had DSL. I can't remember. There were still people that were using dial-up, I think, at this point, but not as much as XP. So let's see. Let's open this, and then we'll open this. And we'll see if we have Aero Glass. And so this was kind of the thing. I forgot what, it's not widgets, it had a name. It was, what was it? This thing was new. So your pictures, you could have them scroll through, and then you could add certain things here. See, oh, gadgets, that's what it was, add gadget. So you could do, oh, I remember this, the CPU meter. So you could see how much memory you're using and how much CPU. So that was cool. And then this was the feed, RSS feed. And then most people had weather. but that requires internet. So yeah, I forgot about this. This is cool. You can see the memory. So it's using 69%. But there's no arrow. Wait, how do you? Okay, close. So now that I closed everything, it went down to 61%. So it's actually not too sluggish. I think there's no drivers for the Wi-Fi card. So we're in, and now we just have to set some things up here. Let's see. Device Manager was new as its own button, I think. So let's see if anything doesn't work. No, it's good. Disk drive, display adapter, onboard video right now. Network adapters. So it does not recognize the Wi-Fi card. So can't do too much without the internet right now, but it works. It didn't take too long to boot, considering it was a hard drive. But yeah, there's Windows Vista. Let me see if I can get internet online and see if the computer burns down. Show all, personalize printer, Vista demos. So see experience index. So it's actually 4, 1.9. Gaming is 1, hard disk is 5. So this was really high because this is a newer SATA drive, and a lot of people back then, they still had IDE hard drives. So this would normally not be this high. I can only imagine what an SSD would show there, but that's interesting. So let me see if I can get online, and then we're gonna try to see, there's this transparency thing. Try to upgrade it to the premium or the ultimate, and then I'm gonna see if I can find, I should have some DDR2 here somewhere, and upgrade it to 2 gigs of memory. And then we'll look for a graphics card for this. I should have a couple here, and see if we can make it go better. So we'll be back. So unfortunately, the journey ends here. I was able to get everything installed. I added a Wi-Fi adapter. It didn't find the one that was in the computer, which worked before, which is odd. But I installed my USB adapter, I installed the software, I was able to get online, and then I tried to download some things, but nothing would download. Updates wouldn't download. So I said, okay, I have these games, that I wanted to try, and they're just CDs. So basically, I don't need to be online to play them, right? So I installed Doom 3, which took forever, and it didn't work. It said the OpenGL was incorrect, and there's a way to fix that, but I didn't want to go through that, so I said, okay, past that. And then I downloaded Oregon Trail, which apparently was a popular game back in 2004, a newer version of Oregon Trail. So I downloaded that, put it on the computer, but it was an ISO. And Vista can't open an ISO. You need a different piece of software to open the ISO or mount it. I think it was called Magic ISO or something like that. So I gave up on that because I couldn't download Magic ISO, and I didn't want to go back to the other computer to download Magic ISO and then put it back on the other computer. The Firefox wouldn't work. So I downloaded the latest version of Firefox for Vista, which is 23.0. So I thought I should be able to get online now, but still didn't work. So then I went ahead to download Chrome, the latest version that was supported in Vista, 32-bit. Downloaded that, and Chrome kept saying the time was incorrect, but it was correct. It said the date and time is not correct, but it was correct. And at this point, we're in it over 2 hours. I was very frustrated, so I said, you know what, just forget it. Just forget the whole thing. It was just very frustrating. That was the reason why I didn't want to set up XP, because it's so hard to do it now. If you were to buy a computer where everything was set up already, it'd be a little bit easier, but to make it work from scratch, very difficult. I was under the impression that Vista would work online still, and it should. And maybe you can tell me what I'm doing wrong, but I'm just going to give up for today. So I might just go to Windows 7 instead, just because I don't want to spend so much time trying to make Vista work for no reason. I wanted it to work. I wanted to try the Vista Ultimate, and I will at some point, but I don't know if it's worth it at this point to do that, because I'm pretty sure if I put Windows 7 on there, it'll at least work, sort of. But as of right now, Vista just won't do anything. I can only run what's on there, which is nothing. The 2 games that I tried to run don't work. I have more games. I'm sure some of them would work, but yeah, I'm just gonna give up for now. But it was fun to see Vista again. I underestimated how long it would take to actually install it, so sorry for that. I will probably go Windows 7, I think. I do have another Vista hard drive that I can put in that's already set up. I don't know if that would help or not, but we'll see. I still have to put in the extra memory and some sort of video card. I never really made it to that point, because now I can't download any drivers, so I have to download any drivers for anything that I put in on a different computer and then do it here. So I might just skip that. But let me know what you think about Vista. If you ran it back in the day, what hardware were you running on? And I'm really curious to find out how and when people upgraded 7, because I missed that boat. So if you had Vista and you upgraded it to 7, I would be interested for you to comment below and tell me what your experience was like and what was the reason for the upgrade. Because I would assume that if you had Vista on a computer, your computer was pretty old at that point. So why would somebody put Windows 7 on an old computer unless it was because supposedly Windows 7 ran better than Vista? That's what I kind of remember. And so yeah, that's it for today. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon with some sort of other operating system. Bye-bye.